On today's episode of the DeRaud-Messinger Show, we're previewing and predicting Baylor versus number 23 Texas. Longhorns fans, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. It's greatly appreciated. Yes, Dylan, Texas at number 23, they must hold the record for most times in and out of the poll in one season. Now, game info for you guys, as always. And also, before we mention the game info, happy Thanksgiving weekend. I hope everyone's enjoying a nice turkey or my, preference still on ham. But, hot takes aside, we
Oh,
are also celebrating Thanksgiving on the show, Dylan. We are going old fashioned without the game bar that we usually have because, we're spending some family time. But more importantly, we want to pay some homage back to the Pilgrims and the Native Americans and just the old way of doing videos like they did way back when, which, their
yes.
videos doing were just great. But no, game info. The game is on Friday. Yes,
Mm.
that's why I always say Saturday, just so you guys know. On Friday, because there is a difference. Friday, the 25th, of course, Black Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. Please don't tune in Eastern Time. You'll miss some football at Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium in Austin, Texas. The game will be televised on ESPN, and Dylan, the Longhorns are favored by 8.5 points. So,
Of
Dylan, get
course.
us into that juicy scouting report. I'm sure you have.
Yeah, Devin, this is a Baylor team coming off a hard-fought loss to TCU in which they didn't just lay on the running back and prevent them from getting their field goal team onto the field. But Devin, sources close to me and on the field told me that in the rule book, Baylor could not do a substitution or take a while to do it. So everything
We're
kind of fell.
still we're still debating that one, but yes, yes.
Yeah, it's leave a
That
comment down below with the
our
rule
source
book.
isn't too great at rule book
Well,
stuff,
hey,
but
listen, if someone can go into the NCAA section 12.4, Article 3, and give me what the rule says in there, we can figure it out, Devin. But right now, it's besides the point. They lost the game to TCU. They had a really good running attack led by Richard Reese and Craig Williams, Devin, in which they ran over 200 yards on that TCU front that Texas couldn't really run on when TCU was keying up on Bijan in that game that must not be talked about. But with this Baylor team, inconsistent QB play has really hurt them this season. That's mostly why they're sitting at kind of 6-5 after last year in which they won the Big 12 championship. So right now it's Blake Shapen at quarterback instead of Buchanan. He's got about 2,400 pass yards per game, or not per game, on the season, Devin, and with 14 touchdowns.
that's incredible.
I know, right? And 9 interceptions. So he's kind of prone to kind of giving the ball away to the other team. So that's something to watch for Texas. You're gonna want to get that pressure up front, force them to make mistakes, trying to get the ball to wide receivers like Monterey Baldwin and who's leading the team in reception yards, and then Gavin Holmes as well in that receiving core. So Devin, this offense, I mean, it's a well coached team, but I wouldn't say it's kind of like the same as last year for Baylor. But when looking at their defense, that's where kind of like they make their money in a way. Obviously, not as talented as last year as well, but still very well coached team under Dave Aranda. They're sitting at 367.5 yards allowed per game, which is third in the Big 12, as well as tied for fourth in the Big 12 at 25.5 points allowed per game. So this isn't a defense you can kind of just walk all over. They do have safety Al Walcott in the secondary with 71 tackles, leading the team. Devin, kind of goes against your rule of which the safety has the most tackles on the team. Might not be a good thing,
I was going to
but he
mention it,
does
but
have
yeah.
9 tackles for a loss, so he does get into that backfield, kind of disrupt plays for the offense, as well as linebackers Dylan Doyle, who's second on the team with 70 tackles, and linebacker Garmin Randolph, who has 6 tackles, 4 loss, and 4 point sacks, which leads the team.
Yeah, I'll get back to my theories later, but just to kind of rehash what Dylan has said and my own notes, Blake Shapen is the guy. He's the sophomore quarterback. He's still, having Dylan his learning bumps. Been inconsistent, 14 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. I believe yours for Texas, don't quote me on this, also has 14 touchdowns to 6 interceptions or something along those lines. So there are similarities, kind of stat wise. Both need to stay efficient in this game if they want to see their teams win. Dylan talked about the freshman running back Richard Reese doing his thing, 908 rushing yards along with 14 touchdowns. But Dylan, how can you pass up an opportunity to bring up a great nickname? That's the cardinal sin on our show. You got Craig Squirrel, as he should be called on the show, Williams, who did some damage against TCU. Of course, they did not come out with the win, as Dylan was talking about there. But TCU, Dylan, just what's up with them in close games where their punter was still flopping? We don't want to talk about it, guys.
Public enemy number one. That punter.
Baylor and Texas fans can shake on that one. But yes, I mean, public enemy number one. But receivers too, Dylan. You talked about Monterey Baldwin doing his thing, leading the team in receiving, both with yards 530 and touchdowns 4. 6-year guy, Dylan. Got to shout him out. Gavin Holmes. We went to middle school with him for a year. I mean, just got to support the guys that you bumped into in the hallways at some point in time. Don't even if we don't even really remember more than that. But also doing his thing, the second leading receiver there. But on defense, as Dylan said, my theory, safeties leading the team in tackles is not a good sign for a defense. I will stick by that always. You want the linebackers leading the team. But as Dylan mentioned, Dylan Doyle just one tackle away from leading the team or tying the lead with 70 tackles. Walcott has 71. And then on that front, outside linebacker, Garmin Randolph does have 4.5 sacks. So he's the guy for Texas to key in on, defensively speaking. But overall, Dylan, nothing super stands out. The secondary does have a plethora of guys that do have an interception, so that's something to worry about. I forgot who has 3, but there's a 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. There's a lot of turnovers.
Safety Christian Morgan, Devon.
There you go. That's why I got Dylan on the show. They
Yeah,
create
that guy.
a lot of turnovers, at least through the air. And of course, Aranda is a defensive-minded guy. So Quinn Ewers and Sark definitely have to be on their toes in this one, especially when, foreshadowing maybe Quinn Ewers is going to have to be a little bit more on his game, at least reliance-wise, than he has been in the past couple of weeks. But Dylan, X Factors, what are you feeling?
Yeah, Devin, I don't know if it comes to much surprise, but I got to say the passing game for Texas with Ewers' ability to, he needs to spread that ball around to his receivers. Jordan Whittington obviously gets Xavier Worthy involved. Jatavian Sanders, of course, getting those guys their touches, getting them involved in this passing game to make Baylor respect everyone else on the field and not just double Worthy. Because, with this rushing attack, Bijan's going to get his, but Baylor, third in the Big 12 in rush yards allowed per game at 131, only allowing 3.8 yards per carry, which is also third in the Big 12. So to open up that running game so they're not keying in on Bijan and Roshan, Ewers is going to have to make plays, make those deep shots, make accurate throws, not into double coverage for Texas to kind of, open that defense up of Baylor's and to have a real chance at winning this game. Now, the other side, Devin, with Baylor, I would honestly say it's going to be this quarterback battle with Blake Shapen. He's got to make Texas's defense pay with his arm and making the correct throws as well, not turning that ball over. The reason they switched from Buchanan to Shapen was specifically for his dynamic ability to make plays and that athleticism. So that is kind of just where Baylor needs to, focus their attack. They got the running game. Squirrel Williams is going to get his for the most part, but that defensive line for Texas, it's top 2 in the Big 12, at least with like rush yards per game. So it's going to be hard for their running game that they're going to want to rely on for the reason they win this game to happen if Shapen isn't making the correct throws and turning the ball over.
And definitely. That's why my X factor is that Texas, I said front 7 of the defensive line, of course, but linebackers, of course, they're going to play a critical role, as always, stopping that run game. As Dylan's saying, Baylor has had success running the football this year, at least with 2 different guys here. It hasn't been as good maybe as it was against TCU because there's a lot of yardage there to be had. But, it's picking up some steam as Texas is also, though, just been a stalwart defensively up front. As Dylan said, that defensive line has been something special, something that Longhorns fans were expecting to see last season as the consistent force, which wasn't there. And this year, it's a year late, Dylan, as always with Texas. But it's the thing and unit to watch because obviously they need to plug up the gaps in order to force Shapen to throw the football and also get in his face, make him make some tough decisions. As people who watch the TCU Baylor game know, there was one tough non-throw late in the game, which possibly costed Baylor the game. I don't want to, put any dirt and wounds, Dylan, but
Jeez.
that was a tough one to watch. But yet again, young quarterback and was probably making the safer play anyway, although he probably could have dumped it off. But anyway, Texas, like in that scenario, TCU was forcing a decision there, quite literally, even if it was a relatively open receiver. You got to make those quick decisions. If Texas can force Shapen to, do that again, they're going to be looking pretty good. But yet again, Dylan, don't want to jinx that Texas front. They've been pretty good against the running game, so Baylor might have to rely on Shapen in this one. But also, just to talk about Ewers for a second, I'm glad you talked about that. That was my X factor, but that was the one I was debating. Against Kansas, it was cold in Lawrence. I believe it was 34 degrees at kickoff. I was warning about that in the video. I was going to say, do not expect the run or the throw a lot in this game because it's just so cold. They did not. Dylan, they didn't have to. They won by a lot more than I expected. And Dylan picked Kansas in that one just to make sure I had to say that. There's going to be a little bit more throwing of the football this week. I believe the temperature is going to be around 60 something, but there might be a chance of rain. So weatherman Devon is back. Just warning you guys for that. But Dylan, now I'm going to give it to the danger level for you. So take it away.
Yeah, no, Devon, thanks for that shot. Well, I know I was labeled as a troll last week. It was not my intentions. I thought that Kansas had a legitimate shot, as well as Jalen Daniels. But I grossly underestimated the abilities of Bijan Robinson in that running game. So, but hey, I'm happy I was wrong. Let's not get it twisted, okay? I say it out of love for this team. But Devon, danger level. I don't have a 10. I don't have a 9. I've got my staple trademark danger level 8 going into this. Devon, conference championship on the line for Texas here. Got to pull out a victory, and they need Kansas State to lose to Kansas. So certain things can come to fruition here, Devon, if Texas takes care of business and hopefully sends some good vibes to Kansas. So a lot to play for here is what I'm really trying to say. Not going to be easy, though. It's a well-coached Baylor team with Dave Aranda at the helm, but they're not as athletic as Texas. Texas just got a lot of playmakers all over the field. That's why I like them in this matchup. And I feel like this is the game in which Ewers shows more progress. He struggled these past few weeks. I have that gut feeling everything's going to kind of click together. And, I hope the game plan is getting everyone involved in that offense and not feeling the need to force it to Worthy that kind of Texas was feeling in that TCU game.
Yeah, no, I definitely like 8 down from that 10 against Kansas still, and we're calming you down a little bit. The blood pressure is, evening out. I would be tempted to go higher with this one too, Dylan. I'm sticking with my number. I believe I had it last weekend as a 6 here. You're talking about the Big 12 title game chances. Quite frankly, if you're Coach Sark, what do you tell your players? Like, don't worry about that because we literally can't control that. All we can control is our performance against Baylor. And although, a lot of people might lead you guys to believe that Baylor is a, terrible football team, that is just frankly not true. They're a decent football team, obviously not towards the, top tier of the conference, but certainly not at the bottom either. They're kind of middle ground currently. And it's Dave Aranda doing at head coach and, one of the great coaches in the sport, giving it a 6 for that reason. Thanksgiving week, if there's any some time, to create some family turmoil at the dinner table, Dylan, this is the week to do it. I know there's a lot of split Baylor families out there, 6. I think a 6 is fair. Now, predictions, what are you feeling?
Yeah, Devin, I'm going with 30-24 Texas. This is the first time in a while it feels like I'm finally picking Texas, but I'm back on board a little bit in this matchup. I think Ewers is going to make the right plays. This could be possibly Bijan's last game playing in the Big 12, Devin. Don't shed too many tears. Stay composed. So I feel like this is going to be something that Texas is going to be using to their advantage. Motion's going to be high. Get Bijan the ball. It's going to open up the passing game for Ewers. Ewers going to make the right plays, ultimately make it very difficult for Baylor to kind of climb back into this game because when Texas is clicking on all cylinders, Devin, They are not a team any team wants to face, especially with a top 2 defense in the Big 12 on their side.
Yeah, and that stat is surprising, given what expectations were pretty much before the year. I also Texas winning. Dylan, I think you stole some of my notes, but I'm going to rehash in a second. I have them winning 34-27 over the Bears. You know, the line is 8.5, so do with that what you will. Don't ever, please, don't ever, if there's one rule on the show, don't bet on what we say because we are most likely wrong. But we enjoy the conversation and being wrong, Dylan. That's where we make our money. Quinn Ewers definitely going to have a great performance, as Dylan was talking about. Yes, Bijan's going to have to set it up. But for Ewers in this one, as Dylan was also talking about earlier, this is his chance to show progression. He has admitted, you know, that his footwork has maybe been lackadaisical at times. This is a chance for him to prove that, you know, he's been spending that extra time with a Thanksgiving turkey in hand, doing, you know, 5-step drops and everything. But Ewers, yet again, he needs help too, Dylan. You can only do so much. He needs to put the ball in better spots, but he also needs his receivers to, you know, make catches. I don't want to call out anybody, but we all know who I'm talking about here. And then Bijan, yes, he's going to have his opportunities, but he's also relying on Ewers, of course, to open up the running game for him. So that way the box isn't too stacked, because I'm sure Aranda right now is going to, you know, put more money and focus on Robinson than he is Ewers. And then, Dylan, as you mentioned yet again, stealing all my points, it's senior day in Austin on Friday. Robinson's last game at DKR, most likely. He hasn't said anything officially yet. But, Dylan, I mean, the people in our fantasy league are really going to be upset if Bijan does not enter the draft, because we have a keeper league. And I'm telling you guys, our people are tanking for Bijan right now. So it'd be lovely if he stays, for Longhorns fans and myself included, who am not tanking in my fantasy league. But emotions are going to be high at DKR for Bijan and others. Jordan Whittington, before the season, was talking about how this would be his last year. I haven't heard anything change there, so it could be Whittington's last game, Roshan's last game, maybe Overshown. Don't quote me on that. But a lot of guys, Deshaun Jameson, a lot of guys, their last game is on Friday. Emotions are high. Can be a good thing, but my point here is, can they harness that into being a good thing? Emotional football can be a ugly thing at times, Dylan. Don't get too emotional with it. I got Texas winning, though, 34-27. But more importantly, what do you Longhorns fans like about Thanksgiving? Let us know. Ham or turkey down below, but also your score prediction. Very important to us. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day.